What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Queued Up, where the mics are hot, the lobbies are open, and, well, two people are dodging this week. I'm your substitute teacher again, Andy, and I am joined with Chris, Nick, and Davis. We're here again for another episode of Queued Up. Again, as two people have dodged, we don't have CJ, we don't have Kepley with us, but I like to think we're in store for a very good show. We had a fantastic weekend amongst all of the esports across the entirety of the world, and that's exactly where we're going to be starting off with Around the League is our opening segment. We're going to start off with talking about Masters Toronto, Valorant Champions Tour. This stuff has been lit. Nobody has ever seen something like this. All the first seeds seemingly forgot how to play the game. Davis, what's been going on with this so far, man? Explain the Swiss stage into the bracket breakdown for me.
Yeah, well, for me, I think it's showing the changes of Teo and how that's really impacted the whole just field. I mean, I think a lot of these number one teams were really leaning on Teo throughout this whole entire split, and now you can't use it at Masters, so completely flipped the script, and it's been really entertaining to watch. Bunch of fun teams coming on, and a lot of teams that you really don't normally see that perform that well that are advancing. So.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's not only that we had a change, but should we have even had a change? I don't even understand why you played regionals to get to this tournament on something else and then totally flipped the script. We saw that it affected all three teams. The other side of the coin is XLG obviously had to replace one of their players. Sure. Let's just throw them out the bucket. But then we'll talk about a little bit later of the waiting around while the other teams are playing cheese. Hasn't really panned off for them as well, as they're all screaming, hey, we wish we would have played in groups and have been playing this whole time, because they obviously all four came out cold.
Exactly. And we do have the bracket ready at your leisure here, of course, Prod. Thank you so much. Chris, when you're looking at this bracket where we currently stand right now at this moment of recording, Wolves have beaten Gen G, and throughout all of this stage so far, G2 Esports, XLG, RRQ, and Fnatic, those are your number one seeds from all four of the regions. And to Nick's point, they didn't get to play through the group stage. The only one of them to take a single map was Fnatic against Gen G. They got to pick their opponents, and they all lost.
Yeah. Well, first things first. As Nick was talking about, welcome to Riot's World. They patched before most major tournaments. So that's something that...
Not first time.
Not first time.
Not your first time.
As you said, the big thing coming in is it does look like those teams that were able to play in those Swiss stages had the advantage, as you said multiple times on Tide, that they learned how to play. And I think we've seen it here as well. As you showed, Wolves came out against Gen G. They came out and they had to battle their way back in each map. But I think it's showing that play time before, even though Gen G, of course, has already played one going into this, that time that they got beaten by Sentinels, they've learned. Since then, they've just been winning.
Yeah, and I think even beyond that, too, I think we got to talk about it's not an elephant, it's like a pack of wolves almost, and one of them's got a six-pack, blonde hair, and he's really, really scary on the fade right now, and that's CFAT. What in the Wolves is even happening right now? Again, nobody had projected that this team was going to do that well. I mean, I had them at least winning their opening match. That was fine. I have the bracket to prove it, but still, beating Gen G, that is, in my eyes, APAC number one. I cannot believe that went down the way it did.
No, that was actually insane. Shout out to Sufat, fan of the GG and content himself. But it's just like, man, no offense. I didn't even expect you to win this one. But congratulations, and hope the run continues. You've got nothing to lose the rest of the way.
It's just insane, man.
Me too. Surprising me, and as well, they did beat Gen G. They also beat Rex Regum, so the other giant from that same Pacific area. So, I mean, Wolves tremendously showing up. And it's actually crazy to me because, as everybody knows, China is the newest region to actually enter in Valorant. So to already have teams that are, playing at the highest level like they are, it's super cool to see.
I think for all of the East in general, because we're seeing this start. Sorry, I'm kind of breaking the fourth wall right now, but we're starting to see this development even in Counter-Strike too, where a lot of the East are really getting their hands deep into tactical shooters, and we've seen them. I mean, you've been watching them in League of Legends for a long time. These guys are cracked as all get out too. I remember even when Japan had a Call of Duty scene, those guys were twisted. It's a very real thing. Promise me that Japan League was a very real thing. We almost had a major there at one point, but I'm just excited to be able to see how far the Wolves can go. I feel like we do not know how high their ceiling is truly going to get, but there's so much more to just discuss when it comes down to Valorant Masters Toronto. We only have so much time. At the time of this recording, currently Paper Rex are 1-0 up over the Sentinels right now, though. Going into Sentinels map pick, it still could be anybody's game. The one thing that we know for certain, and feel free to jump off the page here, anybody, Gen G versus G2 Esports, that is an elimination round 2 match. How are you supposed to gauge which one this is supposed to go?
To be honest with you, Gen G was my favorite kind of entering this whole bracket stage. I really thought they were going to arrive. So I feel really nervous for G2. I mean, obviously I'm supporting them as the NA representative as number one, but very nervous game coming up against Gen G.
Well, as I said, NA Hopium here. Because they're going to have their hands full with texture. Even in the games that they lost versus Wolves, he's still looking good.
Hey, they're going to be playing a lot of Neon. I mean, Texture loves playing Neon. It's very fast paced. You can get the entry, and I think with his conversion rate with his ultimate as well is very, very good. I mean, he was putting on highlight reels even in a losing form versus Wolves. But let's talk about G2 just a little bit more. Again, you know, it's the bridesmaid, never the bride. They got runner-up Masters Bangkok, losing to T1, and kind of like a stain on their record. They almost weren't even the number one seed. They lost to Sentinels in the winners finals, and then they find themselves here in this whole new meta. And I'm not sitting here putting a magnifying glass on Trent, but he's the one that kind of needs to step up for the flexibility. We're seeing a lot more fade. We're seeing the Sova coming back out because of the Teo nerfs. I just genuinely don't know what you're supposed to do to make this team work, because we got Jogamo on a stage today when he was practicing Gecko in the previous stage. I don't even know if this team has an identity right now.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, though, I really think G2 is going to be fine. Gen G is not a team that I would like them to face going into this losers bracket, but I'm not worried about them one bit. They look strong in the bounce back against XLG. Again, we just talked about them not being their full team, but they look like they were having fun again. And backs against the wall, G2, I think, is a team that nobody ever wants to play. So I'm not really too worried about G2 going forward.
Should be a good one. Again, that matchup is going to be happening, I believe, tomorrow, actually.
Yep.
So I will be promptly seated, my buttocks in a chair. Probably not this one specifically, but I will be seated, glued to that screen. But we'll go ahead and put Valorant to rest, and we'll wait for the rest of that series to conclude, because honestly, it might be over by the time that we finish this entire show, so we'll rip the Band-Aid off if we need to. But keeping in the sphere of tactical FPSs, we're going to take a look at Counter-Strike. Blast Austin Major Stage 3 has just concluded, and if you're unaware with how the entire system does work, well, it's on your screen. 3 different Swiss stages, and new teams are being added into the mix as the stages did progress. Getting in towards Stage 3, that's where your big dogs were coming out to play. Vitality, Spirit were now in towards the mix as well. FaZe were in the previous stage and were able to qualify to find themselves in this situation, but then the Mongols were also there too. But if there's one thing that definitely jumps off the page, and if you've been living under a rock, I'm sorry, because you missed a very funny best of one, Davis, and that would be Legacy.
Yeah. What a surprise. I mean, I had no clue. I didn't think this would even happen, like no chance. I thought there was a 0% chance that they would arrive. They had obviously been a team that has made it from stage 1, wasn't even supposed to be in the tournament, and what a run they've made. But huge, absolutely huge, monumental win for that team, and just the confidence that those players have now, knowing like I arrived on main stage against the best team in the world on a 30-game win streak, and we won. So I think it's really cool for them. Sad to see that they eventually departed, though.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, they did eliminate Lin Vision, though, and that one hurt my soul ever so slightly as well.
That was one where you can't really have a good outcome.
Yeah,
you don't
nobody
want one to win there.
Won.
You know, you're losing some good interviews, but then you have Legacy, who's on this big rise, and it was kind of one of those like, you're happy but sad at the same time.
The 2 biggest hype trains just going against each other too. Like every time one team would win a round, the chat would just spam like Legacy, and then Lin Vision would win, and it'd be like spamming all Chinese stuff.
But that's just the nutty thing, though, isn't it? Because like you go back for Lin Vision, and I was talking about Stage 2. They were the team that actually knocked Falcons down a peg, which is just insane. Falcons, by the way, weren't even in Stage 3. That's it. Let that sink in once again. We talked about that in great lengths last week, but yeah, I think that we are starting to see the strength of what the rest of the world for Counter-Strike does have to offer, but I'd like to think that there's a certain asterisk involved here. Maybe you feel a certain type of way being a professional coach yourself of like watching all these teams play a game again. I mean, if you are Legacy, like you played so many games on that stage, you're so comfortable with the setup to go into a best of 1 versus the world's #1. Clearly one team was going to be a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, Legacy had nothing to lose, and Vitality had literally everything in the world to lose. They shouldn't have even been here, in the words of him, but it's just crazy to see them come all this way. And you're telling me that Legacy Lin Vision match was basically Vitality versus Falcons. That's
sure.
They both beat them recently in the stage. It's crazy to me, but I think what's even more impressive is going to be Vitality's run through the rest of this playoffs. They now have that weight lifted off of their shoulders, and they have been playing great ever since. 13-3, 13-6, 13-6. They are just going to dominate everybody the rest of the way. And I know we're about to talk about the bracket, but watch out everybody else.
Yeah, here is that playoff bracket, actually, Nick. Perfect segue as we are getting prepared for this playoff bracket. It is starting and will be concluded throughout the entirety of this upcoming weekend. A lot of big teams involved as far as the playoff bracket is concerned. Again, you're going to have that opening matchup, Spirit versus Mouse. That's tough. You got one side of the bracket, Mongols versus FaZe is an opening round matchup. Now, the winner of that one, what goes on to face, was it Pain Fudia?
Yeah.
I'll take one side of the bracket well over the other.
Yeah, it's not even, if you look at VLR in these matchups, it's Spirit versus Mouse is the current 2-3. Pain versus Furia is like 16 to like 38 or something. It's outrageous. And then that FaZe get that in round 2, again, assuming FaZe beat the Mongols. But it's just like, and then Vitality's on the other side waiting the winner of Spirit FaZe. It's just like, or Mouse?
Yeah, Spirit Mouse.
Yeah, Spirit Mouse.
My thing's right here, like Mouse has gone through the gauntlet. If you look at who they've played, the first round up here at the elimination, they play, this is stage 3. They play Aurora. Then they go to play FaZe. Then they play Liquid. Then they play Aurora. Again, and now they're out. Like, they've just gone through the absolute ringer.
Yep. Having to face almost every single strong team that is in at least top 3 in the VRS rankings, whatever those numbers mean, Mason, I don't even know anymore. But yeah, it's just insane. Again, playoffs will be concluding throughout the entirety of this weekend. We're going to be going over all of our office pick'ems here on the show on the Thursday episode. You want to make sure that you stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll be going over all of those as well as all the other facets of Stadium Esports and Skill Diff. You don't want to miss it because it's going to get pretty spicy. The leaderboard is getting pretty close as far as this office is concerned. But let's go ahead and branch on over towards the Rift. How about some 5 lanes for you guys? LTA North has finally concluded their playoffs. We finally know who's going to go over to MSI as the representative for LTA North. And I really thought there, once we got to Game 4, we were going to Silver Scrapes, that Chris was right off in his predictions. And Cloud9 were about to do the nasty work, but it is FQ.
It is FQ, and it was a toss-up, though. That was probably one of my favorite series of the Grand Finals. You take a look at AL versus BLG, 3-1. You look at, the closest one would be GAM versus CFO, which was also a 3-2. But then Gen G, of course, 3-1 it was a 3-2 also, but it was like kind of a smackdown after Game 2. And then you get this close series here. First thing first, I want to look at is that there was a 32 or 37 to 10 game number 2. That FlyQ kept close. And then on this last game for it, we have C9 going down and then almost being able to get 3 members go to an Elder, which is obviously the right play, but forget that their base is open. Then you have Whippo running it down with the Gragas. He knows he can tank. He has one more person with him. They're able to get in there. They win the game through a back door because Inspired right now is probably the best shot caller in NA and pretty close, in my opinion, in the West as well. He does have some competition, but the reason they are winning is because of his macro calling and his shot calling. They were negative 30 kills in the series of the best of 5 and still won.
Davis, you weren't here for our pickups and all of our discussion, though, as you were out and about being a social butterfly. But how did you feel about the entirety of Grand Finals, the way that it concluded? How you expected?
Yes, it was an absolute banger, and I really expected it to be that way. I thought it was going to be gritty, and either one of these teams could come out to win, and I think that's exactly what we saw. But like Chris said, the base race at the end, or not the base race, but the
base
back door,
trade, the
back door at the end of the game, that is absolutely perfect how you wanted this game to end. I mean, me as a viewer, I thought it was dope watching Whippo. He went like full AP Gragas. He just was like, dude, I'm sending it. I'm not going tank. I'm just going to try to do as much damage as possible. I thought that was super fun. He also got caught a few times where I was like, oh, he just threw the game. And then next thing you know, they were able to recover. And I think it was just a bunch of pressure that really was amounting onto Cloud9 in the moment. And kind of like Chris was saying, Inspire he knew he was calm and he knew what they needed to do objectively on the map to win the game. And I think Cloud9's approach was a little bit more emotional, and they were trying to really go for kills and make a lot of flashy plays. And Inspire just felt comfortable giving them the kills and knowing that they would get the objectives in the end.
All I continuously have learned from the season of LTA North is that I should be inspired by Inspired. I hear this quite often, and I truly am. I'm excited for MSI, honestly. I think international tournaments for League of Legends is truly where the medal is tested. I mean, that's where Faker, obviously, the GOAT status was achieved on how many times he does clutch up on the international stage. You get these matchups that we don't see all too often. So MSI is going to be happening around the corner. And then after that, EWC, we got so many cool matchups that are happening in League of Legends. You want to make sure that you stay tuned wherever. Davis, Chris, Kepley, We got a whole bunch of league heads all around this office. They're on a whole bunch of different shows that you can nerd out with them in the comments down below. But we're going to be putting it to rest as far as around the league is concerned. Again, all these matchups for Valorant, Counter-Strike should be going on throughout the entirety of the week and the weekend. We're going to be taking a deeper dive into the brackets on Thursday alongside of our pickups. So you want to make sure that you tune in towards that episode. But now moving over towards our next segment, we're going to be talking about the feed. And it's exactly what it sounds like. We're talking about cheeseburgers. I'm just kidding. We're going to be talking about what we saw on the timeline from this past weekend. Anything cool that would kind of jump out on the page to us that we would like to share with you. And for the first post, we're actually going to be starting with Davis. What inspired you this weekend, my friend?
Yeah, so my post is actually coming from a guy that we are very close with, Eli the Ninja. And he hit an absolutely crazy Halo clip, and I had to use it for my feed because I was like, I mean, genuinely, I haven't seen a clip like this in a while, and I do know that every sniper kill in Halo has to be a headshot for one shot. So just a great play right here. 2 kills, gets the nade kill. Obviously, that one wasn't a headshot, but a 3. Absolutely styles on this guy. 360s on this guy. Misses a shot, gets another kill. Like, he's just absolutely farming everybody.
And just look how chill he is, like, with getting a Kilimanjaro. Yeah. I mean, like, Nick, you've known Eli for a good while. You've been in the Halo scene for quite a bit. I've been playing it since I was in diapers, man. Davis ain't wrong. Like, it's a very hard game to be able to pull off consistency headshots like that. Now, why he can't do that with a BR or a DMR is beyond me, but the sniper rifle looks good in the kid's hand.
Nah, the sniper rifle looked great. I was looking at that clip, and I was like, is this the Eli of old or the Eli of new? And man, it was impressive. Hats off, Eli. Hats off.
Oh, man, showing the zoomers.
Is Eli the Ninja back? If you are a fan of Eli as much as we are, Eli will be competing in a Boomer League for Halo, so you definitely want to tune into that. You can find him on social media, of course. As we're done roasting our entirety of the colleagues, Nick, what do you got for us?
I had some tech issues over on the VCT side of things, if we wouldn't mind throwing that up. Surprisingly enough, you know this guy Thug Nasty. Valorant Champions Tour had a power outage in the middle of one of their matches. His team was up 9-3. But hey, us HCS folks, we've seen this one before. Optic versus Nemesis down in Arlington just a couple of months ago. It's mind-boggling to me how much these venues have power issues. And it feels like the production and the events, they don't really stress test it that much. There's 4 guys in this office that have put on events before. Trust me, you need to stress test that power. And sometimes you still run into power issues. But yeah, it was just crazy to me. The stream was down for like an hour. The players probably got cold and had to come back and play another half of Valorant, which is crazy to me.
It almost feels like a 1-for-1. I know I'm only speaking to maybe about like half this room, or at least like 3 out of the 4, because I know this guy doesn't play golf. But like it's like the rain delay that we got at the U.S. Open at Oakmont. Like, on a championship Sunday, it doesn't matter the day in esports. Like, you're sitting there and like you're just so buzzing, whatever the amount of rounds that it was at that point in time, just to completely get rested, because the entire broadcast had to be sitting still. They actually halted the entire broadcast. The game could have continued.
Yes.
They wanted to make sure that the product was still on, which I got a lot of strong opinions about that, but it is what it is. That's a really good thing to bring to our attention, because yeah, it did happen at down in Arlington. And I guess, hey, who lost that series when they came back? Because Optic did win the entire dang thing after that power outage.
Optic lost it.
No, they lost that game, but then they came back and won the entire tournament.
Yes. So wait a minute. We might need to. Who lost that game? I don't even remember.
I can't remember off the top of my head. Was it during the Fnatic Gen G game? I can't remember. We're going to have to double check that. If you guys know off the top of your head, make sure that you guys let us know in the comments down below, because our boomer brains simply cannot remember all of that too quickly. But that's a good one to bring to the table. And now we are going to go to Chris. What do you got?
Well, ADC has been announced. Yunara, we've heard about her a lot, but they've finally given us gameplay. Ooh. And we've heard that she was going to be an auto-centric character, and they have delivered, but she has some cool abilities in it. So we'll take a look at what she has to offer going into the Rift, because I'm excited as an AD carry player. But as you can see, auto attacks, she transcends, as you can see, and it boosts her abilities. And one of her Q is that once she gets 8, then it empowers that. Her Transcendent is her ultimate, and then it gives her W and E different abilities as well. So you have dashes, you have move speed, which is all, really helpful for AD carries now in the current meta with so many dashes on your top laners, junglers getting away. I play Misfortune a lot. She does have the move speed, but, once you get hit, it goes down, and you feel kind of bad if you can't get the dashes like some of these others. But I think, this is a good look for her. It's definitely a nice to see those auto attack, because Smolder was the last AD carry to come out, who's more of that mage type. You have to stack up that Q, and then he has to execute later. So I'm kind of glad that they're kind of bringing back some of these auto attack centric champions that kind of make you forced to get in there, get a little bit close, but has the ability to get out. So I think she's a really cool addition.
I like that. Yeah. I mean, League of Legends, what? They released somewhere near like 2-3 characters every single year. It was a bit like 2 more characters before Worlds is what they were hoping to aim for.
Right.
So
they were somewhere around like a quarter, like a champion quarter. They may have put it down a little bit because they do know that they are getting. This will be 171.
171. So, that's the number that I wanted to hear because like that, it's a massive number within its own self, and it's the balancing that comes along top of it. We were talking about all the balancing for Riot before. They had their hands full. MSI's right around the corner. I'm sure that they're going to be perfectly fine. But yeah, no, it's really, really cool. I'm always here for champions to be drops or champions just to be named, and that's perfect segue for my opening post. Last night, I was up until the wee bits of the morning. I was actually casting the women's of the Call of Duty League, and their entire season had just concluded with Team Solar actually making a miraculous run. This is a team that was actually ranked about like the 6th seed after like the regular season. They beat the #1 team in grand finals 4-0. They beat the team that knocked them down to the lower bracket, I want to say as well, like a couple rounds previously. And every single team that they lost to throughout the entire of the regular season, they ended up beating. Now, I know I'm speaking to like the absolute room right now because we also talked very highly about Command Station and what she was able to do down at HTS Arlington for the FFA tournament. This was also a big monumental moment when it comes down for controller esports as a whole, in my humble opinion.
No, that's amazing. We love more women's tournaments. They have them in Halo as well, and it's just great to see her across the whole scene.
Yeah. I think it's very, very necessary, but I just felt like I needed to share that to the world. Thank you guys for coming to my TED Talk. I really appreciate that. So, Davis, what do you got next for us?
Yeah, so jumping to Counter-Strike, I have xFloud from Heroic. He is being dropped as of today. So pretty surprising, honestly, news to me. I kind of feel like xFloud's been one of their best players, so I was really shocked to see it happening. But then I did remember that they are dropping their coach as well. Saw he will be leaving and going to G2 as well as Sunpius after the major. So big changes coming for Heroic, a team that, entering this major, I thought was going to be one of our, out of those teams that were in stage 1, they were one of my favorites to kind of go far. And then I think they fell short, and this probably happened because of that. But sad to see it happen.
They were definitely the highest projected, I will say that much, coming away from stage 1. Every single one of us going in towards stage 2 was like, yeah, guaranteed Heroic will definitely be here. So definitely tough to see anybody going through roster mania deal with it on too much of a regular basis in my own esport as well. But yeah, we'll have to see where they go and they land on their feet. But Nick, got another feed for us there, bud?
More Valorant action. It was an action-packed weekend over there, but like we already talked about a little bit, the top seeds fell everywhere, and G2 Josh RT took to Twitter to say, when are we going to change this? The #1 seed's got to quit skipping the group stage. Tournament momentum is real. Now that he personally has experienced both sides, he'd rather play in the group stage, and so would everybody else. So they understand that there's limited venue days, etc. But I couldn't agree with him more. I've talked about it on almost every single show I've been on over the past couple of weeks, that playing in the group stage, playing in the previous Swiss stage, playing in the losers bracket in League of Legends, it helps so much to get more and more competitive reps. And the Valorant folks are screaming from the rooftops, we need a change, and we need it now.
You don't get that same practice in the PPAs. Practice player area for those that have never been backstage at an esports tournament before. And it's almost like the same thing in scrims. I'm not going to take that Slayer scrim as serious as I'm going to take that map 5 versus Optic on the main stage. So, it's just one of those things that does suck. It's the format, and sometimes you just got to adapt, I guess. But hopefully some change and some I guess reconciliation does come through, at least for the upcoming Masters and other tournaments as well. But Chris, back over to you.
All right, well, we're going back over to the Rift now with one of the best moments from playoffs in Korea. Let's take a look at it. Doran making the play of the century here. And, well, it couldn't be much better. Yes, those are the Krugs. Yes, he is a Gwyn. And, well, he's dead. All right. So Doran decided to take on the Krugs, and it seemed to be T1's biggest enemy over the weekend. HLE couldn't do it. TKT couldn't do it. Only the Krugs could defeat Doran over the weekend. And he would end up going 5-4 on the Gwyn, one of those going over to the Krugs. But I thought it was just funny play. He tries to get it. A lot of jokes would come after it, but he seemed to ascend after it, because after he lost that, then they go on and beat HLE 3-0. That's crazy.
I don't know, it bounced back. Yeah, that's the Krugs buff, though, if you really think about it. Why we don't smite that is because you want to stay very far away from it.
He's aptly now named the Krug Lord. So you have Faker, the Unkillable Demon King.
Yeah.
Guma, the Unkillable Demon Prince.
Yeah.
And now you have the Krug Lord Doran. So.
I understand it's the name of like the enemy in the jungle, but just being called Krug Lord in general is just that I would never want that nickname. So I think. Thanks for sharing, Smile, and I'm sorry that happened. So now over towards the last one. Valorant actually today just released a quick little preview, is that they are talking about a new map called Refinery Center, which seems to have like almost shades of like B-Site on Lotus. Very similar to that, in my humble opinion, just looking at the mini-map. A lot of interiors, a lot of different paths that end up linking a lot of these lanes together. And that's only off of just a very small little area on the minimap that they were able to showcase so far. But when it comes to Valorant, I mean, we talked about it last week. I kind of gave Kep a lot of crap for it. I think it's a beautiful game. I love what they're doing for it as well. And I think adding new maps can only add more spice, especially with the announcement of Champions Paris looming in the distance. But that's the feed. Again, if you missed anything, or if you thought we missed anything on the social media platforms that may have jumped off the page to you, let us know in the comments down below, or just add us on the timeline yourself. So now we're going to move over towards a household favorite. Everybody loves watching this one. It is Clutch or Kick. So go ahead and get your signs ready, gentlemen. If you're unfamiliar, again, we are going to go through some topics, and then the desk is going to decide whether or not that is super clutch or it's kickable as all get out. So the first one to start off is Chris.
All right. Well, as we all know, LTA North only gets one representative this year. But with JoJo going over to LEC and then qualifying, he has announced that he wants everyone to think of Koi as an NA representative because he has gone through it without having a second representative. JoJo over there carrying EU to MSI and having a team over there. I believe that we should look at Koi, as he said, as NA light, and we should be rooting for them if FlyQuest go down. And that is my clutch. I am with him on this 100%.
Hit it. Thank you.
I'm going first. I'm kicking this. Why did he leave NA if you want to be acknowledged by the NA fans as some GOAT or like some, making it out of whatever? We have a team that also qualifies for MSI. You could have made it from NA, so I'm kicking that.
Yeah, I gotta unfortunately kick this as well, Chris. It's you don't get to leave the flag and then get to fly the flag. No.
Yeah, I like.
All right, so before Indy goes.
All right.
Yeah, we'll throw
you want to redeem yourself real quick?
Now, they said that. I want them first to say something.
Sure.
Look, this is the first time that we've had an NA representative go to a different region that is considered a major region and actually accomplish something. So this is the first time that we get representation from a North American team, Canada or United States, that has gotten a major accomplishment. And he's the first player to do so, because we've had plenty come from LEC and didn't do well in NA. We've never had someone that's been able to go to the LEC that started from NA and then completely help dominate and turn the team around to get them.
And I think that's why, I didn't need all that. You guys did apparently. like I'm good on this because love him or hate him. Going back to Overwatch in 2017, 2018, there's a really hyperactive individual. His name is Kefri. And he wanted to be a competitive Overwatch player. He's a very, very good hit scan player. You guys might know him or hate him. And he traveled over to compete in Contenders Korea. And he actually helped turn that team around. They made it to the grand finals. He didn't make it all the way to his dream, but I definitely do still respect that. I highly rate Kefri at that moment to be a North American player, but he was definitely fighting his heart out in a different region. So I do stand with Chris. I stand with JoJo on this as well.
I'm clutching the story all day, but I am kicking the idea of calling it NA light. That's like if FaZe win the CS major. I'm not going to say that NA won the major just because.
Well, to be fair,
on the team, who cares?
To be fair, I wouldn't call it NA light. I would just call it just Mickey Mouse NA because you have you
should be counted as NA light.
No. You know what? Fine. Because I'm gonna say that it's a Mickey Mouse North America and not an NA light. That makes more sense. If it was Canada or something, that'd be NA light. But I don't know.
Reverse
That's more of like a
sales.
Mickey Mouse NA. It's just a bunch of North American players just sitting there and playing in a different region. Like, yeah, it's not North America Light. You just have all of our players.
Yeah, no, I'm cool with the story, Chris. The story is amazing.
Yeah, that also
And-
is
and-
very hyped for that.
And shout out to JoJo for that, but no, we're not calling it NA Light.
Works for me. All right, so on to the next one. Sorry, they had a compelling argument over there. On to the next one is actually going to be mine, and mine is actually targeted at the Call of Duty League. Look, there's one thing that we have constantly always known about the Call of Duty League is that the season is way too short. There was a tweet that got put out, and a lot of people were looking at the data as well, just to kind of put in perspective about how short the season is for the Call of Duty League. Remember how long ago Major 4 was? We were down DreamHack like a month ago almost. Champs is not even until next week. We're talking about almost a whole calendar month in between Major 4 to Champs. Yeah, June 1st to June 26th, 25 days away. Major 1 to Major 2, February to March, March to April, April to May. And it's just, you're just jam-packing Major 3 and Major 4. But then once we get to EWC and back, we're not going to be back until February. The game comes out in November. Why are we waiting so long? I don't understand. So I think that the league needs to change to make it a longer one. And I am kicking, or I guess I'm just like standing with on business that the schedule is really, really bad. Okay.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
Like, I'm even thinking about, everything else, like Capcom Pro Tour goes, later into the year.
Sure.
We're looking at smaller, like if we're taking a look at little smaller esports and maybe not the big Valorant, League of Legends, TI isn't until November as well. Like, what do they do between that time? And then they're expected to probably stay on payroll maybe half the time for some of the teams as well.
Some of them are,
obviously, there's going to be some roster swaps, but you have like players that are not even doing anything for a good 4 or 5 months at that point. If they have to wait till February of all time, I'm kicking their schedule, clutching your argument.
Agreed. Yeah, the schedule needs to change, and it needs to change now. I don't know what they're waiting for. They're just trying to find ways to build the hype and ride the wave and get more money, and that's all they care about at the end of the day.
I'm going to clutch the take as well. I think the schedule is atrocious. But me personally, I think, which is probably a hot take, but I think the schedule needs to be shorter. And I think the reason that the gaps that are in between these, I think the gaps that are in between these events are the things that need to be eliminated. And I think the season needs to be
So he agrees that the schedule is poopy doop.
He went the other way.
But he went the other way.
That's actually interesting.
But we all agree that the schedule is poopy doop.
The schedule is poop.
Yeah, it is. So some of us went left. David's just like, nah, I'm taking the right turn. He's like that one meme. It's just like he sees like the sign. He's like, I'm out of there. All right, bet. Well, hey, feels good, man. Over to Nick for your next one.
My clutcher kick, Splitgate 2 came out, and they announced a battle royale.
Yep.
Right? Like, wow, great, amazing. However, no, I'm done with this. First off, Battle Royale's single life. This respawning in a Battle Royale doesn't make sense. What makes Splitgate? Portals. You could only use a limited amount of portals on refresh.
Yeah.
It's just, you're trying too many variations of Battle Royales. I personally don't even think Battle Royales take that much skill. Most of it's RNG with landing and loot and this, that, and the other thing. I'm just done with Battle Royales. Battle Royales have had their time and place in this world, and it's time to move on. No more Battle Royales, please. That's it.
I love Apex. And like as
You're allowed to.
As crazy as this is, like, I do really enjoy Warzone, and I enjoy what it does. That I don't agree with the idea that it's all, like, a majority is RNG, because part of, like, the upper echelon that makes the best professional players, like Imperial Hal for Apex, what makes him a very good BR player is reading the zones and being able to adapt, understanding what team is which, knowing how to approach each fight as well. It is very impressive. So I think that Battle Royales definitely have a place, but I do agree with your sentiment that Splitgate just did it crazily different than anybody else. I'm not a big fan of that, but I think that Battle Royales definitely needs to take a better way, but I am definitely kicking. I like Battle Royales.
Much of like your argument to me.
That's fine.
I understand your point, and I definitely think that Battle Royale shouldn't be based off of a base game. So if you have a base game like that's unique, like Splitgate, don't make a Battle Royale for it. Just improve upon your game. But if someone can find a way to make a unique Battle Royale all on their own, then I definitely think they should make it. So I definitely think they have a place, and they can have a place going forward. So I'm going to have to kick it for that reason.
I'm going to clutch it. I'm tired of battle royales as well, but the main thing I'm tired of is the competitive battle royales because I see it kind of a lot like Nick does. I think obviously reading zones and being able to like read this zone's here, so I need to be playing in this position. Obviously, there's a lot of skill in that, but I think just in general, there's a lot of RNG with the loot that you have and with the zones even being a thing in the first place. So I'm gonna kick. I'm tired of battle royales as well.
That's crazy. He's the youngest one out of all of us, and he doesn't enjoy it.
We've all had our time with
This
Fortnite.
is my thing. That's my thing. You can't get better than Fortnite.
Yep. They set the bar too high, unfortunately, and everybody else is just trying to mimic it and build off of that.
We don't have enough time for the can of whoop butt that I was about to open up on that one, but it's all good. Fortnite is such a staple. I don't even know if I can get into that argument. That was really well played. Then Davis, off of that really well played in that clutch, you're making me second guess myself, and I'm overthinking way too much. I'm sticking with the kick because I love battle royales, but that was good. You were just missing the podium, and I probably would have bought all of that plus some more. But what do you got for your clutch or kick, man?
Yeah, so for me, going back to Counter-Strike, and we're talking about the Budapest major that is upcoming in this year, and it is that the MRQs have been canceled for it. And so I'm just going to kind of put that as a topic, and then if you think this is a good thing that they've been canceled, you can clutch that. If you think it's a bad thing, you can kick it. Me, myself, I'm going to go the route of saying it's a kick. And one thing I saw a lot of people that are on the clutch side saying is that MRQs add more teams, which then adds more best of ones. So that's the best argument I've seen for the clutch. But for me, look at the major we're having right now and look at the narratives that have been created from these teams that have made it in from last chance qualifiers. I have a few written down here. We have Legacy, Namiga, Linvision, B8, Tyloo, Heroic, all placing better than Falcons, who you would assume is the #2 power ranked team in the world right now. And
it's a pretty safe assumption.
It just shows that these qualifiers are a must for these major events because there's new talent. They need the opportunity to show what they can bring to the table, and I'm kicking it. I think it's a terrible, huge L that they're removing the qualifier.
To your own point, and I'll explain why I'm clutching this as we go on here, but would you rather in the next tournament have Legacy and Linvision over Falcons? No, you wouldn't. You want the top-rated teams because they got their VRS for their historical performance, not based on recency bias in any way, shape, or form. Yes, I think it's tough you're not going to get any of those Cinderella stories, but at the end of the day, you want the top 32 teams in your game competing, and you have a ranking system to figure that out. Use it.
Before y'all answer, let me counter with one thing, because this is one flaw that I saw with that system, and I think that's a good example to show how it works. But also, then you have teams like Virtus Pro and you have teams like G2, who are teams that have been, pretty good, and they're giants within Counter-Strike, but they've been underperforming this year. And teams like G2 should not be qualified automatically for Stage 3, simple as that. And so that's why I think you can't go off the rankings, because although you might have been playing good at a time, things change, roster moves happen, and when your roster gets shredded apart, your team's no longer as good. If you're in the third spot, you shouldn't be welcome at the major.
Wait, so Nick, are you clutching or kicking this?
Clutch. He's kicking it.
Yeah, I'm kicking. He's clutching.
He wants it to be a kick. He's selling us for it to be a kick. Nick is clutching it because he doesn't like the best of ones in the Cinderella stories. If you are ranked, you should be there. I'm hearing Davis, though, because, the VRS ranking systems, it's kind of silly, right? I mean, if you're G2, a lot of these points, you were able to get a lot of these points from, Modesty and, from those other placings, and maybe not all of it from Modesty, but, I do see that sentiment. I'm going to kick it for a different reason. I do agree that that I want to see the best of ones, or not the best of ones. I want to see the more teams involved. I think that the MRQs are very important to get those other teams involved, but you need to figure out a better way to get the top teams involved while the other stages are happening, whether that is just going to be for a quick, if you just start the top teams as a 2-0 team or something like that, there has to be some sort of stake to it. A best of one in a competitive tournament has no place, in my opinion. It should start off with a best of 3. We've been playing best of 5s in Counter-Strike 4 Grand Finals. The fact that we're in an Austin Major and we don't even have a best of 5, period, is still so silly to me. I think that you need to refine the format, but I want to see some of these teams. I want to get more Amelia interviews. Selfishly.
So I'm going to, based off of his and with yours, I do like the Cinderella stories, and I do like teams, because this is one thing I really like from that, TI and Dota can do, so you can find some of these lower teams as well, because it's not franchised like League of Legends is. And I, especially seeing Linvision, I think watching Linvision and watching Legacy got me more into Counter-Strike this week than I've probably been throughout this whole entire year so far, because it's able to see these teams go up. And of course, it's always fun watching the best teams play, but it's kind of fun watching those lower teams come in and just create those Cinderella stories. I was totally against Bestia losing their spot in Legacy getting it. I said that a couple of times ago.
I remember. I was on that episode. I remember.
And
that.
I said that, and I've completely changed my mind since then, because that was cool watching what Legacy did and what Limvision is able to do. And as you said, it's also bringing in some of these countries that may have not been staples, non-European teams, non-American teams. We're starting to see some of the Asian teams come in. Maybe it could eventually bring in some more American teams as well to get better at it.
You want me to change Chris's vote real quick? You want to know why Legacy was in the Blast Austin Major? Because they were the 31st ranked team. Yep. That's why they got that spot, because they were the highest ranked team. So you're kicking it. That's how they got in, because they were the highest ranked team.
Well, no. Go ahead.
Yeah, because it's coming off of more of his kick. So like his kick with his, they've kind of both inspired me to do the same. And I understand like the whole ranking. And obviously, he said that the ranking system is flawed. I agree with that.
I think
most of them are as well. Because even if you were to look at
like 32 teams, we're not talking about top 8, top 12. We're talking about 32 teams. There still can be Cinderella stories and Cinderella runs.
Sure. No, totally. Yeah,
right. I think the biggest thing that I just heard from Chris that I want to talk about is the region thing. Because for me, whenever you look at the rankings and how much point is put, like if you beat a team that's based out of Europe or based out of Russia, you get way more VRS points. It's because that team just, the aura that they have for being in the Counter-Strike scene, you just think that...
Well, it's the accessibility to all the major tournaments over there, too. And I think that there has to be some sort of argument behind that as well. And why, like, a lot of these teams all the way in the East, you talk about, like, the rise of the Mongols, how much, like, it actually took for them to get to a certain position to be able to even compete against some of the best teams, to be able to get some VRS rankings. And we're seeing that out of teams like Limvision. We don't know how high their skill ceiling is. They beat Falcons in a best of one, whatever that may mean. Yeah. But also they're playing other teams very, very close. They're a very young team. And we live in an esport for Counter-Strike where the average age of the best teams are around mine and Nick's age. So you can't really put too much into it. All I'm saying is that I want to see more. And I think we all agree that those younger teams should be brought up. They should be put on a pedestal, whatever it may be. It's just the format is just a little silly. I like this clutcher kick. Davis brought out the worst and the best of all of us right there. And I know that there's no scoring system, but Eli in post, if you could just put a giant crown on his head real quick, that was an absolute mastermind of a clutcher kick. But speaking of something that actually has a scoring system behind it, I guess it's made up points. You guys just have to win my favor. Is going to be pick or ban. So thank you guys so much for the clutcher kicks. Pick or ban is going to be a rapid fire segment for us where we're going to be going over all of the different topics on a page. And then we're going to have 45 seconds to go over some picks. We're going to start off with 2 bans, go into 3 picks, the final ban, and then the final 3 picks. Starting off first with the pick ban process. Chris, what are you banning? What are you getting rid of, man?
All right. I like a lot of these, but I'm going to have to go with mobile gaming and limbo.
I felt targeted on that one. Davis?
I'm going on the Hollow Knight Silk Song.
Dude, why is everybody hating on me right now?
I'm sorry. I tried to leave it up there.
All right, Nick. What do you got?
I think this is obvious for me. It's Cristiano Ronaldo in EWC team.
That's a great pick, man. Tell me about it.
You can't get much better than this. EWC obviously throwing a chump of change. It's probably part of his salary negotiation for his soccer contract.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it's great to see. And like Chris was talking about earlier, bridging 2 different worlds, esports and real sports, together here. And you can't have a bigger name, arguably a GOAT himself.
Correct.
It's going to be great to see. Hopefully he gets to actually go to some of the event and bring some of that aura to it. But can't wait for this collaboration. See what comes from it.
Should be a good time. We got Max Verstappen in esports now. We got Cristiano Ronaldo too. I mean,
Lando Norris.
Oh my gosh.
I think the funny thing about this is all of us are soccer heads in here as well. So I'm pretty sure a couple of us were probably eyeing that.
Yeah, right. I don't even get to pick it. I was like,
I think it doesn't fall any further.
I made the list. All right, what are you picking?
All right, so I'm actually picking Dr. Doom, Joe Budin, over there calling everyone ultra soft at Daytona, the best place to do it for CEO. One of the best things to come out of this weekend. Literally comes in there, Dr. Doom, flawless, one of the top contenders in Tekken, and he comes up and just has ultra soft on them. And is calling them ultra soft. Almost makes them turn off the feed, then throws it at the casters, gets DQ'd, disappears, best thing ever. And they probably, because they're calling him a ladder warrior, he shows up to an event and then shows them what's up.
That's sick.
Just
That's
dressing
actually
up
sick.
in a Dr. Doom cosplay in the middle of Daytona, Florida for a CEO tournament is just ridiculous. Yeah, that was I got to watch that live, and I was just too busy laughing to fully engulf myself into Street Fighter 6. Davis, what's your pick, bud?
So I'm going with the German hotel that's catering to esports. I think this is really, really cool. And recently, obviously, with the Austin Major being in Texas, I've seen a lot of pictures of that with different scrim rooms and stuff set up in different hotel rooms. And just seeing how close and how just a shoebox this scrim room is for me. Seeing a hotel out there actually putting it into their building and, just making it into their infrastructure, places that they can, where they can play at and places that they can practice at the venue. I think that's really cool.
All right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, German hotels in general sound like a very fun time. And if you're including esports in my stay, might as well. That's one last laptop I have to bring with me. All right, back to the final ban. Nick, what you got? What are you getting rid of?
Let's get rid of Mario Kart World.
Wow. We're an angry desk today.
He's wearing the shirt.
Yeah.
I looked.
He was hyped for that one.
Literally, all three bans were targeted directly at me. I cast mobile games. I'm probably the most excited person you guys know for Silk Song, easily. And I'm in a Mario Kart shirt. I have a Yoshi tattooed on my arm. You can't really see it right
Yeah,
now.
can I take back? Can I change?
No, it's too late. Chris,
Damn.
what's your pick?
All right, mine is GDQ Racing 2 million. So
That's a great pick.
I've been a massive follower of GDQ. I've donated ever since I started watching them, even a minimal amount. I love what they do. I love watching speed runs, and I think it's always for a great cause. I'm glad that they keep going and that everyone keeps donating for them, and it just makes me happy, to be honest.
And you know what one of the speedruns was? Hollow Knight.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy.
It's consistent.
Band, we're not talking about it, Andy.
All right.
Move
You
on.
tried to bring it up there.
Davis, what are we talking about?
Talking about Fortnite. I already talked about it once, and I saw it on the list, going right back to it. But I think this, like Squid Games, I think this could be I think it could be tremendously fun. I'm honestly going to probably download it and try it if it has good reviews. I think Fortnite with their new creative and or not new anymore, but with creative implemented into Fortnite, I think the possibilities are endless with these games. So I think I'm excited for it.
Round us out, Nick.
No. I just want to, because since we did go full circle to Fortnite, my hot take was no more battle royales. We can still have
We can
fun.
still play Fortnite.
We can still have fun
No,
in Fortnite, okay? And Apex.
Double
Just no more.
standard.
I'm done.
2 weeks in a row.
All right, we're gonna go Esport Awards 10 years here, and I'm gonna take it for a different reason. I think award shows are fake at this point in time. I'm happy, and I hope some of my close friends win some of these awards, but not the right people are voting on them. They don't get the right recognition. Who knows who's gonna win? But I'm not gonna believe whoever it is anyway.
It's a big nostalgia grab for like some of like the favorite moments, right? I mean, when you think of like controller player of the decade, like you got Formal, Scump, like you got so many players in there too.
Shotzi and Snakebite.
And now Prod are simply losing their mind because somehow, some way, you guys made it a quad dagger into me, and you just didn't pick Hungrybox winning CEO. You know how old this guy is, and he's been still playing Jigglypuff all this time? When I tell you that Wizrobe desecrated him in that first best of 5, wasn't even competitive. And then he comes back with a broken controller and wins the entire tournament. HBox is still getting it done.
What org does Wizrobe play for?
Plays for Envy, man.
Envy, baby.
Why-
Let's go. Quality second place. Great losers run. Congratulations, Wizrobe.
The self-plugging literally does not stop. I think we all plug like at least one, if not two. You plugged the tweet. I plugged myself casting.
Yep.
And
I
you
plugged
plugged Eli.
Eli.
Yeah, he's looking out for his homies. And then Chris is out here just having a great old time. All right, well, hey, if you guys missed anything, make sure you tell all the way back to the beginning of the show because it was a real fun time. If we missed anything along the show, make sure you get involved in the comments down below. What was your favorite moment? Who do you think won the entirety of that pick ban process? Because it was Davis in my eyes. It wasn't even close. So with all that being said, thank you guys so much for joining us on another installment of Queued Up. Y'all stay safe on behalf of everybody involved for production. We'll see you on the next one.